Let me check. Any questions from anybody online? All right, so back to the actual problem at hand. The question involves reasoning about strings made up of uppercase letters. So right away, you know they're not going to be any lowercase. We're going to implement two related methods that appear in the same class. The first method takes a single string parameter and returns a scrambled version of that string. The second method takes a list of strings and modifies the list by scrambling each entry in the list. Any entry that cannot be scrambled is removed from the list. So this would be a good thing to go through and highlight using that tool, making sure you understand exactly what it's asking for. So this particular question is the second one. Write the method scramble or remove that replaces each word in the word list with its scrambled version and removes any words that are unchanged after scrambling. The relative order should stay the same. All right. The following example shows how the contents of word list would be modified. Before the call, we have can, abracadabra, whoa, apple, eggs. After, we have TNA, barkadabara, and apple. So the key here is you don't know what scrambling does. You have not written scramble word, and they're not showing you what scramble word does. So how do you know if a word can be scrambled or not? There's a hint in the question. How do you know whether you should remove the word or not? If they are unchanged after scrambling. So if I scramble the word and I compare it to the unscrambled word and they're the same, then scramble didn't do anything. So I'm going to try scrambling all the words one at a time. And if it's the same after as it was before, then I remove it from my list. All right, so we're going to write scramble or remove. So they have a bunch of code in here. So I could type in what I just said, but I'm not going to waste your time doing that. Here are a whole bunch of hints that you could look at. I'm just going to try and do it without looking at those first. So scramble word gets the word. Oh, I see. That I don't care about because that's how to scramble the word. So I'm just going to pretend I don't know what that is because I don't really care. I'm going to do part B, where I get an array list of words and I have to go through it. Woo-wee. All right. So there's a few different ways I could approach this. I know I am going to have to go through them all one at a time. And so I could use an enhanced for loop, right? I could say for each word in my word list, try to scramble it. But the problem with that is that I don't then remember which position it had in the list. So if you remember back, the difference between for loops and for each loops is if I use a for loop, then I'm keeping track of the position that I'm at in the list. If I use a for each loop, it's easier because I don't have to keep track of the length and the numbers and all this kind of stuff. But I lose the ability then to know which position I'm at during my loop. And I kind of need that if I'm going to be deleting items from my list. Although, I just realized there's another problem. Not sure how I'm going to solve this yet. Let me stop sharing for a moment. So say I have this list, right? And for now, I don't really care what's in it. I'm just going to make up a list of strings. So I need a for loop, right? So I'm going to say for int I equals 0. I is less than my word list. Dot what? Dot what?
Size.
Size, because we're using an array list. I goes up by 1. So that is going to give me the index, the position of each element one at a time. And I can say if, I don't know exactly the method name, but let's just say scramble word list. And how do I get something from a list at a certain position? It's just get, right? I think. Get. Yep. Get at position I. Can I use 2 equal signs? Compare strings, right? I have to use dot equals. I'm running off the screen here, right? So if it equals the same thing, word list, I'm just going to put that in there. So if I scramble the word list at I, and it equals word list at I, then the scramble didn't do anything. So I want to delete it. What is the problem of if I say word list dot remove, is it? I don't remember off the top of my head. Remove, yep. So this will get you most of the points. That's literally all you need to do to get most of the points. But if you have time, I would go through and make sure it does what you think it does. Let's say we are at position 2 here, right? 0, 1, 2. And C, the scramble doesn't work on letter C for whatever reason. So I remove this. What? happens now to my list? My for loop is going to go on to number 3, but I don't have a number 3 anymore. Yeah.
If the loop goes through minus I by 1, so it's back to 2, like if it does 3.
But it's still going to go to the original word list size. I think. I don't remember if it runs this every time.
It does.
It does?
Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, so that is a way you could solve it. You could actually just say I minus minus down here. I equals I minus 1. And then it would go up through here and it would check the new size. That would work 100%. Yep. Another way you could do it, go backwards through the list. Start at the end. And when you remove 2, it doesn't matter. The next one is 1. Another way to solve it, just keep track of the words you need to delete and do it all at the end. That would work too. There's lots of different ways. So there's no one right way to do it. All that they care about on the exam is that you use the scramble properly, that you compare it properly with the equals, that you use the remove and the get properly, and that you have this if statement. That's 5 points right there. If you don't do this part, you'll lose 1 point, maybe. So really, the code for most of these is not super challenging. The programming assignments I have you do for your quizzes are usually harder, but getting used to the language that they use in the questions is really tricky, in my opinion. They're trying to be as explicit as possible. But it can be confusing, right? So let's see if we can write this now. We use Ben's method. I always put these comments in to help me remember where my closing braces are. All right, if scramble word word list dot get I equals word list dot get I then word list dot remove I minus minus. Scramble or remove works for earliest 1. It works for number 2, but not for 1. looked like it worked. Well, let's try to print it out and see what happens. Scramble or remove. Quoted. Oh. They already printed out. So doesn't say what it's supposed to be. Part B. I don't understand. What it's supposed to want. Oh, you're supposed to replace it if it. Oh, I forgot to do that. What a lost the point for that. So if it scrambles it properly, then I'm supposed to replace. Then I'm supposed to replace it. Right. So if it does not scramble it, then I remove it. Otherwise, I replace it. So word list set. Set takes the index first and then the object. So set I scrambled word. There we go. Always good to reread the question and make sure you check off the things it asks you to do. Any questions on that particular FRQ? Yes.
So for the
So it's saying if the scrambled word at the index I of word list is equal to the original word, then the scramble didn't do anything. You can put it the other way around too, as well. We could do this. Maybe this makes more sense to some people. So if the original word equals the scrambled word, then remove it. It works either way. All right. So that is